G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to Mermay 2024. This is day 3 and I have just a bit of a simple illustration today based on a photo that Steve took. I'm sure it was, yes, of my friend Emmy. I don't think he posted it on Instagram though. I think this is just one that I have a screenshot of. Anyway, I used a photo reference for this, for the pose, and for some of the styling as well, but hope you enjoy watching it come to life. I'm going to hit on some of the comments. I'm just kind of enjoying like reading what you guys are saying and then kind of riffing off of that for now. So I still have my list of topics to talk about, but some of them kind of all relate too, so this is working out well for me. This one says... I'm just picking out a part of the comment actually. Do you have any plans for any workshops this year? Yes, I am currently working on Virtual Voyage 9. I don't have the title for that yet, which I feel like would kind of give it away if I gave you like what I'm thinking anyway. But I am working on Virtual Voyage 9 and it is actually the first one, I think, the first one I'm doing that isn't based on like movies or like film stories. There is like the theme to it, but it's not based on like movies like we've been doing in the past. It'll make sense when I tell you what it's about. But I'm really excited about it, and I have so many books that I've been poring over and trying to piece together how I think that I want the workshop to come to fruition. It's a little bit difficult because I'm trying to work something in that I haven't really done before and I don't know if it's working. So I'll let you know more about that when I'm sure about what that's going to be. But I do think I'm planning on doing it for maybe like later in June. I don't want to do it any later than July. So I'm thinking like middle of summer. So American summer, Australian winter. So that's my plans for that workshop. As always, I love to do Merry Mix Media, which is the free workshop at the end of the year, the mini Christmas one. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to work out doing another workshop. Depending on how Virtual Voyage 9 goes, I might try and do Virtual Voyage 10 this year as well. And depending on what my Halloween season looks like, I would prefer to do one for Halloween. So that would be, you know, we'd have something in the summer and then I'd have something in the fall. That would be my goal. But I'm keeping that option open as well. And I wanted to do another self-study one instead of the live virtual voyages, so I'm not quite sure if I want to do that or that, but those are my plans. Studio Sam was just talking about being back from Tokyo Disneyland. I could not be more jealous, you have no idea. But in the comment, she was sitting there with her alien mochi, watching the dancers, and was thinking of how much I would have loved it. I do love it, that new Donald Duck cavalcade parade that they do at Tokyo Disneyland. I love it. They just did the Minnie Mouse one, and that was I did that in February for Collage Club. I drew some of those Minnie Mouse ones. The thing I love about the Donald Duck one is that, I mean, the costumes are just out of this world, so good in Japan all the time. But the wigs, they have this white wig styled into like the shape of Donald Duck's butt. And I just love that. I think it is so clever. They managed to do things over there that I don't know why they don't make it outside of Japan. I don't know why we reserve some of the most creative and hilarious and brilliant things for Tokyo Disneyland only, and they don't seem to go anywhere else. But it is actually run by a different company. Tokyo Disneyland, if you don't know this, is run by Oriental Land Company, and it's essentially licensed Disneyland or the Disney IP to use to run the theme park. So there are it doesn't work the same way that all the other parks work. Like in Disneyland here, as a cast member, I can go into the park with my ID and I can just go and visit and have a day in there. That's not the same in Tokyo. You're not considered technically a cast member of the Walt Disney Company. You're considered an employee of Oriental Land Company. So they have different rules in the corporate sense that make the whole experience different. So I would never really think you could draw too many parallels, like employment-wise, working at Tokyo Disneyland and working somewhere else, like in another Disney theme park. But the entertainment, like just the fact of like being a dancer is kind of the same thing. Because a part of this comment also was like, I was wondering about secret rehearsals, if the dancers had any injuries and if they had another job to race to, which are really interesting things to think about because yes, a lot of the time dancers are injured, and injury is a very, I don't know, it kind of runs a spectrum, that it's a very subjective word when it comes to a dancer. I think we all feel sore somewhere. Some people are nursing injuries from high school. Like I have 2 slip discs in my lower spine, so that I've had since I was in high school, and I've learned how to manage those and cope with that and make sure that I don't have these flare-ups. Other people have like really sore hips, or that, that keep cracking and doing whatever. One of my friends' shoulder pops out a lot, so she always has to manage that. A lot of people have bad knees. I mean, you're always kind of dealing with something, and depending on what type of dancing you're employed to do, like the injuries are going to be relative to that. So I've noticed that since I've been dancing at Disneyland and I do parades, which is a very long stretch of sometimes over 40 minutes just dancing non-stop, and then you don't really get a water break when you've got to make it from one end to the other. You don't really stop. So it's a lot of heavy cardio. You really have to make sure you're hydrated properly. A lot of the time it's not even injuries, but people will have heat stroke and or struggle with those types of things, not being hydrated enough. And then for me, because the ground is really hard and it changes, like a lot of the time when we dance on stages. If we are so blessed and lucky, they might be sprung, which they are never. But you will at least have like something that could absorb a lot of the impact of the stage. But then they've got, what's it called, tarquette or whatever. They've got these little vinyl layers as well. So you can absorb some of the shock of jumping and landing and doing acrobatics on stage. On cruise ships, they're just steel stages. It is just rough. But, sometimes you just need to have that so that it can stay afloat and be the stage that it needs to be on a cruise ship. But for Disneyland, on the parade side, if you ever walked through the parade, I mean, you walk on the stage that we end up dancing on every day. So you see that it goes from this, really smooth concrete, and then it goes into this like not pebble, but like, what are they called? Cobblestone. And then you've got on Main Street, you have the tracks, the tracks for the trolley car. So that's also like another huge hazard that you see. And then it just changes all the time, but it's just hard concrete road. And my knees get very sore, my calves get really tight. So essentially I get shin splints a lot and very sore joints. But what I've been struggling with from the beginning is, what's it called? Achilles tendonitis. I have a lump that's like on the back of my right Achilles that I never had before I did parades. And that's something that I have to manage really intensely because that can just take me out, and I do not want my Achilles to snap. But as far as injuries go, if we're injured, like been to the doctors and they've said, no, you're injured, we'll take that time off. We're not stupid. We want to keep dancing. So we usually let those ones heal. But most people are out there dancing with something that they're trying to, push through, which is maybe something people don't realize. A lot of the time for me, it's also blisters that are so incredibly open and like just an open wound and really sting. My entire beginning of the Goring 20s last year at Knott's Berry Farm, I had insane blisters, and I felt like I couldn't even walk properly, and I was trying everything I could do to get them to stop being a problem. My first parade season at Disneyland, I had insane blisters as well. And funnily enough, it's those types of quote-unquote injuries. That one's not really an injury, but it's those types of things that are so much more painful and irritating than, just having a slip disc. I shouldn't say that. That's also bad. But yeah, a lot of people just keep dancing. And I think sometimes if you feel like how you wake up after having danced like crazy or done a whole day of dancing, like I've been swinging my neck around like mad and I feel like I've got whiplash. Sometimes I wake up so sore that I feel like if you weren't a dancer, you'd probably go to the hospital or like the emergency room to figure out what's wrong. But we know our bodies, and we've been dancing since we were kids, most of us. So we've felt these things. We know what we can push through, what we can't push through. We know what things will heal in a few days and what things, need 2 weeks to get over. So we're very in tune with our bodies, and that is how we make our decision about whether we move forward or not. And a lot of us just really want to, so even sometimes we'll push it because we really just want to keep dancing, but we know when it's time to take a rest. So that was interesting. Secret rehearsals are secret, so I can't tell you about those, but yes, we have a lot of them. And then if we have another job to race to, I race to this. I do my jlbCREATIVE. That's my full-time job. Dancing is my fun job now. I will say, without giving anything away, I mean, this is all public information, but I mean, inflation is a hard thing to take into account when you talk about this topic because it's all relative. But it used to be back in the day you could pretty much live on just being a dancer alone. I definitely did that out of high school, and I was just a dancer for 7 years. Not just a dancer, but I didn't have any other job. I was a full-time dancer working on contracts for 7 years, and then nowadays it's pretty difficult. It is almost impossible to, especially like, these theme parks that I work at are in Southern California, and this is one of the most expensive places to live. So, you can do it. I have a lot of friends that are just dancers and are only employed being dancers, but most people I know have another job so that they can pay their rent and get their groceries and afford their car. And that's just the unfortunate situation that we're in right now. Hopefully it'll change one day because it's a very specialized skill and you kind of train your whole life to be able to do it. And, sometimes people refer to it as like, I say it's my fun job, but I mean that in the sense that I do go and do it and have fun, but also I'm not relying on it to pay my bills. And, sometimes it gets treated that way. Like it's just, oh, it's not really a real job. Or like people will say, what are you going to do when you grow up? Or like, what are you going to go and do for your big boy job? And that irritates me a little bit sometimes because most people doing their real job or their big boy job didn't train or work half as hard as most dancers I know since the age of like 6 years old to get that job. Like it is something you train for your whole life. And I feel like you should be able to just live your life doing that. Especially because you don't get to do it forever as well. Like it's kind of sad. It's like Olympic athletes, not that we're Olympians by any means, but they train forever and then they do it for a few years and then you kind of age out of your sport. Like we can only do it for so long. Our bodies give out. I'm at 33, which I mean is kind of a senior age to be a dancer. I'm not going to lie. We can definitely get up into our 40s and, some people are dancing into their 50s. It is not as common. Also, it's a little bit harder to be employed in, certain places if you don't look young or like fresh and vibrant and thin and all these other things that, are still changing and still working themselves out. But I don't know. Like, I don't know when my body's going to give out. I was always told like past 27, you'd kind of be out of your prime, but I really think I'm doing some of the best work I've done in forever. Like it's not some of the most technical dancing I've ever done, but I think as far as being a performer, like I'm probably most proud of this comeback, I'll call it, mostly because I never, even though I feel like I did a great job as a dancer in my first chunk of my career, I feel like I perform now with such perspective and just a lot more maturity. And I feel like, there's a level of gratitude that I have that kind of hopefully shows through now that I just could never have had that perspective on before. I left straight from high school and went to dance, and it wasn't until I lost it for so long that now I feel like I just have to enjoy every second of it. And usually I feel like when I'm watching people that enjoy something, that joy kind of transfers over to me. So I feel like that's why I'm most proud of how I perform now. But yeah, those are some of those questions or like things I thought I should mention. And then I got another one. Have you ever done a Kokeshi mermaid, I'm assuming is the other one. It just says merman. But it would be interesting. So funnily enough, we did a Kokeshi thing years ago in Playtest Patreon. And they were inspired by, I forgot the name of the artist, but I went to a store in Ginza from when Stella and I went to Japan to film Memory to Memento course. And I saw all those Kokeshi dolls that were really modern, abstract, and we did some stuff like that in Playtest Patreon. I just really liked those. And I printed those out last week or something and put them in my journal to be inspired by. So I do actually have some modern Kokeshi inspiration in my mermaid journal. At this point, I haven't done any of those yet. I think I'm up to day 21 or something. So maybe in a few weeks, you'll see some of that pop up because I do have the inspiration in there and I did want to draw from it. So great minds think alike. Not that you have a great mind or I have a great mind. I don't know. We are thinking alike. I don't want to assume that you have a great mind, and I don't want you to think that I think I have a great mind either, because honestly, I don't know what goes on in there half the time. Anyway, speaking of the dancer stuff, I have, this literally just says one last Tokyo Disney contract on my little piece of paper pad here. This is my topic for conversation today. It's going to be kind of brief, but I may touch on it again later. I have done so much in dance that I wanted to achieve. I always wanted to work on cruise ships, and I did that. I always wanted to work at Tokyo Disneyland, and I did that. I didn't know I really wanted to work at Disneyland here, but it was kind of in the back of my mind. I just thought it would never happen because I'd never have a green card. So I've done that. I never really wanted to be on mic in a show, but now I've been in mic twice. And so I'm not saying that was ever a dream of mine, but I am putting it as an accomplishment under my belt. And so I was thinking about this because I have all of these things I can kind of check off my bucket list as when I was younger, and all these things I wanted to do. And I felt like once I'd done them, I could have, been proud of the career that I had. And, I never really knew how that would develop in time. I think for 7 years, my bucket list just said, do dance again. I wasn't even thinking, about what I wanted to do. It was just become a dancer again, be employed to dance again. That was my sole focus for so long. So now that I'm back at it and it's, working itself out the way I wanted it to, I kind of started to have this feeling again of, well, I have a kind of a new dream. I want to do this thing again. I feel like I'm putting this back on my bucket list, even though I've checked it off before twice. I've worked at Tokyo Disneyland twice as a dancer, and there's no reason, I feel like I haven't done that, but for some reason it just keeps coming back to me. I just want to do it again. I feel this desire to chase after that one more time. I don't even know why I want it one more time either. When I was there for the first 2 times, I never wanted to leave. I just wanted to do that job forever, or until they said, no, you're too old now, you have to go home. But it has just really come back to me over time. It's always been one of my favorite contracts I've ever done. I love Japan. I love the people. I love the culture. I love Tokyo Disneyland. I loved the job. I loved dancing there. It just always felt so special. It was my first job out of high school, so I felt like it just feels very nostalgic to me. And even though my life is different now, I'm married, I have cats, I have, a car and a home here, I'm committed to, living this life as well. I think a part of me always just thought, well, that's kind of finished because now I live this life. But I was chatting to Steve about it, and he was like, you can't stop yourself from wanting and dreaming these things. And, I'm supportive, so why would you stop yourself? And I was like, that's so true. I mean, if Steve wanted to go and do something that took him away for 6 months or 8 months, I would be supportive of that. If that was his dream, I would support that. So we're having a bit of a serious conversation about it. And even though it's a far stretch that this would actually happen, I just think I'm kind of happy to have this desire to chase something again in dance. I think it's good to have goals and, little dreams to put your mind towards and work towards. And I feel like this is something I just really want to do. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I have no idea how it's going to happen. I have no idea what actual performance opportunity I'm chasing out there, because I think the ones that are out there right now I'm not very right for. So I'm just putting it out there. It might be next year, it might be 2 years from now, it might be, who knows, 3 months from now. You never know what opportunities come up in dance, but that is just on my mind. Is I'm putting that back on my bucket list. I would like to go back and do another Tokyo Disneyland contract, and Steve can come out and visit. And if Steve goes and does something, I'll go out and visit him, and it'll all be great. And yeah, I figured I'd just share that because it is something that, I've been journaling about, and I've been gathering my little inspiration for, and I have been keeping up with stuff that happens at Tokyo Disneyland. I mean, I never really needed incentive to do that. I've always been fascinated by the stuff that goes on over there, but also one of my friends went over. My friend that I met at Disneyland, she's just gone over and started her contract there this year. So I think that kind of really put it back in me as well, because she's telling me about all of her experiences, and I was like, oh, I missed that. I really want to do that again. And I feel like also, if any place that I could keep my jlbCREATIVE going would be Japan. We could go on many stationery field trip vlogs. We could go and do whatever we wanted to do with all the best stationery in the world. Go visit the Traveler's Factory, Notebook Place. I mean, we could just do it all. And I could still keep my YouTube channel. I could probably even still do my workshops. We could figure it all out. But that is something that I just feel like I've got a dream for again. And that's very interesting to me. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Have you got a new dream? Have you got a question you want to ask and or a comment you want to put down that I might touch on tomorrow? Please feel free to sound off in the comments below. This is Mermay Day 3. I will see you again soon for Mermay Day 4. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.